You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What is shaking, guys? Today I'm chatting with Travis Steffen. Travis is the author of Viral Hero. He's a successful and serial entrepreneur with 7 successful exits and a few crash and burn failures, of course, to his name. As a growth engineer, he specializes in building products that grow themselves. Travis, all right, welcome to the show, man.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, let us know where you're calling in from and something a little bit interesting about yourself.
I am in Marina del Rey, California.
MDR.
Yeah, it's have a beautiful view of the ocean from my balcony, and a little something interesting about myself. Let's see. I'm an ultra marathoner as well as being an entrepreneur. So that's a little something.
Cool. I love it. All right. Well, tell us about GrowFlow.com. What does it do? What does it bring to the marketplace?
GrowFlow is a B2B software as a service platform for cannabis and hemp businesses.
Okay.
We do compliance, inventory management, point of sale. We have a marketplace, various e-commerce tools, and analytics. We're expanding that larger suite of products all the time, and yeah, so that's who we service. That's what we do. We keep people up and running. We make them money. We keep them legal.
Right. Oh, so there's some like regulational aspects of part of the SaaS as well.
Tremendous amount. Yeah, I can imagine every action one of our customers, a cannabis operator, takes, almost every single action they take has to be reported to the state. That software, B2G software, I'm sure we've all used it, is really not a fun experience at all. So,
right.
And it's also a non-value adding activity to focus on compliance in any way. You're just kind of doing reporting to stay legal. You're not actually making money from these activities. So we've taken the approach to blend business critical money making activities with compliance. So we do all the reporting behind the scenes. So you're not really worrying about it.
Tell us a little bit about Viral Hero.
Viral Hero. So I've been a serial founder for the last 12 years. And the 6th company that I was blessed enough to exit was called Upshare, and our blog was probably my favorite part of the company. Even though we had 250,000 users, things like that, it was a viral marketing tool. So we had to learn a lot about viral marketing at the time, and I just completely went down a total nerd rabbit hole and got into epidemiology, got into contagion modeling, and just learned a lot about the product architecture of the fastest growing companies in the world, and realized they all had this parallel concept in play, whether they realized it at the time or not. And that was effectively, there was some sort of core product value that didn't feel like marketing or affiliates or referral mechanics. It was just, there was core product value that you could continue to reap by inviting and using the product with others, and injecting that into product architecture from the very beginning, even sometimes before you have an idea, knowing how you want to architect the product in terms of the spread of value to fuel your customer acquisition on a semi-automated basis is just a huge superpower for entrepreneurs to have in their toolkit. So Viral Hero is available on Amazon, wherever books are sold, and it goes into the 12 types of viral marketing, breaks them down in detail, talks about a lot of the math of virality. It talks a lot about blending business and finance with virality, and some of the metrics to really pay attention to, and exactly how to calculate everything every step of the way. I also go into a lot of case studies with real companies who have done this, a lot of their anecdotal adventures and what has happened along their route. But I've also taken another approach and broken down a lot of actual viruses and the dynamics of how they spread, and how, folks like the CDC try to help stop those viruses from spreading. In real life, obviously, viruses are not a thing that we like, but if we look at it from a completely agnostic perspective, as a founder, there's a lot that we can learn about viral marketing from actual viruses themselves. So I break down things like MRSA and Ebola, HIV, all these different viruses that spread in completely different ways. And how can we learn how to make our companies spread like those specific viruses? What can we learn? And based on how epidemiologists and virologists are trying to stop that spread, how can we counteract that viral decay and immunity and so forth to just continue to morph and change with, viral messaging and viral media and so forth?
How do you feel, what is your message towards this, since we're on this topic about, there's a lot of vanity metrics out there, right? That I have to sometimes convince other business owners that either what their true value is, if there is a value. For example, likes, views. What kind of advice would you give to the listeners, the entrepreneurs out there that are spending just a shit ton of money on this kind of stuff, which I want to make sure they stop. Of course, I'm working on that, but really, truly, what metrics are necessary? Because there's too many, cost per acquisitions and conversions and all that jazz is important. And then we can go down on a rabbit hole, of course, on who's managing these things and where their processes and procedures and sales, et cetera, is. But initially on the top level, vanity metrics, what are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. So over the last 12 years, I've thankfully been able to start a number of companies. I've been blessed enough to sell 7 of them, awesome. 8 if you count one of my companies acquiring another one of my companies, which I don't. And in that time, I've definitely fallen prey to some of those, to wanting to achieve some of the vanity metrics you've spoken about. And what I've had to develop is there's one metric and one metric only that matters, and that's the number of dead presidents you have in your bank account. At the end of the day, that really is all. I mean, if you're able to pay your employees in likes and views, that's incredible. Right. But other than that, I think everything is just a tool. At the end of the day, one of the things that I talk about, actually, people are really confused about virality. They think it means like shares and likes on social media, and it's really not the case unless you actually own the social media platform. When a video, quote unquote, goes viral on YouTube, what's actually going viral is YouTube. Their player is being spread with a different form of media. What the media itself is just a viral mutation. It's something to keep fresh. And because what happens is, let's say you've seen a video a couple of times and you're like, I don't want to see it again. Okay, that's viral immunity. That virus is going to mutate. What's the new media? The constant there is YouTube's player, the button on the player that brings you back to YouTube and re-engages you as a visitor. So it is in fact YouTube that is continuing to spread and live and so forth. Is it virality to make a video on YouTube and post it on there? There's an argument for saying like your channel could be considered that in a way, but at the end of the day, it's just a different form of direct response marketing. Yeah. So I would say people should, at the end of the day, anything should only matter if it's a leading indicator that will actually result in you getting cash in the bank.
And it needs to be extremely, and within the world of analytics and algorithms that people don't have control over. And I think that's important, is that if you're listening and you are, and this is just my 2 cents, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Travis, but I tell this, or I give this advice on specific different types of companies. But if you are so focused and only realizing that you're getting all of your business from a online, let's say, platform, that's scary. What if something happens like the coronavirus right now? One of my companies is extremely suffering on that. What if something happens? Bottom line is you're betting on platforms that you don't have any control over, right? Yeah. If you're a influencer, and let's say, didn't they try this, I believe, in Canada, where they just took away the likes for a little while? I think Facebook did, and people are freaking out and throwing out like, that's how we get paid, by how many people like our shit. And it's like, yeah, you might need to get a job. And I hate to say it, but like, that's not that you're not having a job, you don't have value for that brand, but you're depending on a platform that may or may not just change their algorithm like that. And it's happened, right? So what are your thoughts on dependency versus, and I kind of say sometimes for me, I go, we're going to go back to old school at some point. We're going to go back to saying, hey, do you peer-to-peer marketing? Or, hey, do you like this? Why? Cool. Maybe I'll check them out. Like we might go back to the B2B world where the referrals and recommendations mean a lot more than, even though there's a portion of that on the online market and social media. But what do you think about being able to depend, or people depending on these platforms from a day-to-day lead gen standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's tricky because as a young company, I always recommend that folks focus as much as possible on their juiciest channel and milk as much value out of it as possible, specifically for one reason and one reason only, and that's just depth of focus. To be able to explore and research enough to get truly great at that one channel takes a lot of time and effort. And as a small team, you're not going to be able to spread yourself across several marketing channels very well. You're going to be very mediocre at all of them. However, you will never be a real scalable and investable business. Like if you're ever thinking about raising a dime in venture capital from real serious institutional investors, if they think that there are any risk factors, and that falls like that goes way beyond just marketing channels, right?
Sure.
That's if you have customer concentration in a single geography. It's if you have only one customer type that has one specific problem that could be completely solved tomorrow from a different solution. If you're like a company that has one massive enterprise customer and they account for 60 or 70% of your revenue or more, that's all risky. And you won't be like a scalable, investable business if you have concentration like that. Now it is a means to an end. If you start that way, great, and you use that as a way to diversify and future proof, all these different factors, and marketing is included in that. I think that you should have several different marketing channels. Like one company that I started, the fourth company I sold, was called Workout Box, and we were a platform for personal trainers to create their own online interactive fitness site for free. You can probably tell how many times I gave that pitch. And we were almost exclusively reaching customers through SEO. At the time, we were ranking top 3 for keywords like exercises and workouts and just major single word keywords like that. We were ranking large, like higher than major fitness publications and so forth. When we sold the company, it was only a matter of time before Google went and changed their algorithm. And because the acquirer didn't know how to adapt, their traffic basically got cut from, by like 80% overnight, and they had no idea why. Now, thankfully, this was a few months after we had already completely transitioned out, but that was a huge risk factor. And that was something that they, really bet on as a company. They were doing a roll up of SEO driven companies. So that was a gamble that they decided to take. But, I would say it is always a gamble if you're relying on a factor that's in some way, shape, or form out of your control, where if one party makes a decision, it's tricky. It's risky.
What's happening, Life Nation? Michael Levis here. This is a time to do the right thing, not the profitable thing. I'm giving away COVID-19 business strategy sessions for free. I promise to give you my honest advice and coach you on a strategy that I feel would be best for the longevity of your business. I'm not asking you for your money, but in the interest of being able to help as many people as I can, I am asking you to be ready with your 1 to 2 specific questions so we can jump right into it. Go to michaellevis.com/coaching and simply schedule a call on my calendar. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com/coaching. It's just a good realization, I think, and for the entrepreneurs listening, just a good outside looking in approach, because I know everyone's thinking right now, like, shit, do I have most of my business coming from one platform, or do I have most of my business coming from one angle? And if I were to go, or for you planning to go, and assuming that a VC company or anybody in the back end is going to have to do their due diligence, and they will, and they see this as a risk factor, I mean, yeah, that's something to think about. And at minimum, try to remedy, start being creative, because that's what the owners of the company and the CEOs and hopefully will be able to do. Like, how else can we create business, hopefully at an equal and a lower cost per acquisition that you're already doing it on those platforms? And it likely is people. It could be people. it could be people going out there and doing it. And so what you've had a lot of entrepreneurship journeys. Give me a time where you've hit rock bottom, Travis, and you had to overcome that. Cause I know you've had to do it with all of those, but give me one of them within those companies where you just were like, oh man, this is it. And then you got out of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I sold Workout Box, that was like one of the first times I had like real money in my account for a while. And I was a perennial bootstrapper. So I did and I was a former professional online poker player, completely immune to risk. So I threw every single dime I had in the world into a new company, built that for about 11 months, hated it. It was going really well, but hated it, and decided to sell it to a graphic arts firm in Manhattan. We signed a deal with them. They gave a down payment, and then we were going to do an earnout for the rest of the capital, which was going to kick in 6 months after the acquisition took place. So we did that. We took that agreement and we leveraged that agreement with a lender who gave us a loan to start the next company, which started going really, really well. And we had 250,000 users, and we were starting to monetize. And then that company that had acquired the prior company came to me and said, they're just old school finance guys, really, really cutthroat dudes, good business people, but not super ethical. And they came to me and they said, we've run the numbers. It's going to be more expensive for you to sue us and be in court for a couple of years to recoup what you were going to get from us than for us to pay you out. I don't know if you allow profanity on this show or not.
No, go ahead, man. For something like this, please.
They basically said, like, you're going to have to sue us. If you want this money, go fuck yourself.
Yep.
And have a nice day. And so it was,
welcome to the American dream and the American way. Yep. That happens.
Exactly. And it was a life lesson, because like all in one shot, my co-founder and I are thinking like, oh my gosh, like we have to go to this lender and let them know, like, we're not going to get these earnout payments. And they called the loan.
Yep.
So we had to fire sale that sixth company that was going incredibly well to even come close to paying back that lender. And we didn't maybe got 10% of the way there, because that company was not even monetized yet. It was just had like a whole bunch of users. So that's 3 exits within like a couple years. And most people see that and they're like, oh, you must be like completely caked up. And we were like beyond broke at that point. And then fast forward, we went and got a job in Silicon Valley building another person's company to start to pay back that loan. And then unfortunately, my co-founder passed away. So I absorbed his share of that debt. And so I was basically left with like $750,000 worth of debt. And so I was like, I'm not going to declare Chapter 11 because I won't be able to be an executive in like a major company, and that's not going to be part of my journey. So I just hustled and paid it back, and was able to get out of the hole after a couple years. And fast forward now, I'm doing like great again. But like it was a tough time, and it was like, as they say, everyone pays tuition. So
yeah, wow,
hard lessons, but
I appreciate that story, man, and I hope that our listeners realize that that kind of shit happens way too often. And it wasn't even because, and you do all the right things, right? You do all the right things. You have the attorneys look at everything, and then you have, at some point, you can't stop human will or just overall dickheads and assholes that run numbers and say, you know what, let them litigate. And we know what litigation costs, even at the very lowest hourly firm or hourly person. For 2 years, let's just or we pay them out. Whatever, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Let's say we pay them out $500,000, but they're going to come back and they just run the breakdown. It's almost like an insurance, like mitigation of risk for a company. And they do that and they say, now let's just screw this person over. And that legit, I mean, I know how, and it gave me the chills because I've been in a situation similar to it. It's like, mother, son of a bitch. And I get it. And I'm sorry it happened, but we go back at realizing like the mess becomes the message. You go out there, you grind, you kick some ass. Congratulations for coming back full, Travis. And I know it sucks, man, but you learn that. And I think sometimes it goes back to, I had a question asked for me a long time ago on a podcast asking like, what was the best thing you've gotten out of entrepreneurship? And I was like, the fact that if I lose it all, I'll figure it out. And it sucks to say that because I don't want to do that, nor do I wish that on anybody. But if I would lose it all, I'm just going to have to figure it out. Now I have the know-how and the education to do that versus just the understanding of just, a bank account, because that's not, that's unfortunately not as a sure thing as we all wish it would be, or even acquisition, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
There's a major Silicon Valley investor, Chris Sacca. A lot of people probably know the name, who's the general partner at Lowercase Capital, or the managing director, or something like that. And he has a crazy story where he was a trader, trading on margin in the right before the '08 crash, and he was like, margin called him during the crash, and he was like $27 million in debt, or something crazy. I could be inflating that number, but it was like several $1,000,000 in debt, and he was like in his early 20s and had no idea. So he went and got a job at Google and hustled, and now he's basically a billionaire, and he didn't declare Chapter 11. And it's that kind of attitude, that, because being a founder is not for the faint of heart. No. It's not it's not a super easy way to make a living. And some people get super rich, and that's great. But a lot of times you're paying your employees more than you're paying yourself.
Yes.
So, and most people don't think that don't see that. So,
yeah, I mean, our end game as founders and entrepreneurs, and those listening, if you're thinking right now that I can pay myself more next year or the year after, then you're thinking the wrong way. You got to be thinking your 401k is valuation. That's your 401k is exit. Your distribution, it should be right back into the business if you're looking to get a valuation exit. Because if not, then you're just be in the rat race, and you just created a job, not a business, and a value. And that's a lot of people don't. And I hope that people that are listening in this, it just punches them in the nuts a little bit and makes them realize oh shit, because I had to get that punch, and a lot of us had to get that punch as a bootstrap. I've never borrowed a dime, but at the end of the day, I also know what it takes to do that. And also that, yes, like you said, I paid my employees more on most years, because it's the big end game and the bigger picture that hopefully we're all looking forward and towards, I guess. So thank you for that story, man. We can go off on that stuff. That's a whole different topic and a whole other podcast, but
sure.
What are you excited about right now within your business?
We, and I don't even think this is public knowledge, so you heard it here first, I suppose, but we just got greenlit for our Series B yesterday evening.
Nice, man.
So that's a high 7-figure investment for us to go really conquer the market, and so that'll close fully money in the bank this month, and we'll start deploying it. And we're already growing really quickly. We've already got 50 people on staff, so we'll probably be at we'll probably add 100 more over the next 18 months or so.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm really excited about that. I'm also really excited to give some people raises, because they've been working really hard for under market rates, and
it's exciting.
I'm excited to, we have, and I'm there are a lot of people who have lifestyle businesses, and more power to them. That's incredible. Travel the world, do your thing, own 100% of your equity. That's cool. That's not me. I definitely, at this stage in the game, I was a bootstrapper for a long time, and now I definitely raise venture capital. I have a certain level of scale in mind, of what I want to achieve. And if ever I feel like I can't get to that level of scale with what I'm doing, I exit and leave and go to the next thing that can get there. And thankfully, GrowFlow is already proving to be, the de facto solution in several states already. And I'm really excited to take it to the next level.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. And I think that the reason and why you're excited is pretty awesome, to start giving some people a little bit more cash that deserve it, that have earned it, and that are there. And that's a good part of being able to get that kind of Series B. That's excitement. It's not just the money in the bank. It's what the money is going to be able to do. And also hopefully make people feel like, hey, we give a shit because you're working your ass off here. Let's just keep doing it. Right. And that's
Definitely.
Really cool. So I'm glad to hear that kind of part, that piece of your excitement there. Give me, one out of all of your successes and failures, what is one piece of parting advice, Travis, that you'd give to aspiring and current entrepreneurs out there today?
I don't want to say I'm a disbeliever, but I'm not a fan of the just do it, kind of like Gary V type approach, where it's just leap, just do it, grind hard, work hard, wake up before everybody, go to bed after everybody. I've been that guy, and I have a human body. It's completely unsustainable. You're far, far, far more effective and more productive if you regularly practice self-care as a founder, or as an entrepreneur or an executive. If you're in a startup environment, if you're doing anything, if you're in finance or anything like that, where you're high pace, high stakes, high stress, you cannot redline yourself for months and months and months and expect it to not take its toll. You will burn out. And that is a real thing. I've been there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for me, self-care is non-negotiable. Every day I will start my workday only after I have been to the gym, and I have packed my meals. I'm in bed almost every night before 10. I'm up at 5:30. And like, that's just kind of how I live my life. Like, the sacrifice that I make to be an entrepreneur is making sure that my health comes first. I also, I have a cutoff time at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. Even if I don't have plans and I don't have a wife and kids.
Yeah.
It's just like, literally, that's when I don't think about business, and I allow my mind to go be creative, think about other things. Like, 'cause I'm super analytical. So letting my brain work in different ways. And I've found that I'm a much, much better executive when I take care of myself. And the other thing is just like, for the better part of a decade, I was the side hustle king. Like, I had several projects going at all times. That's why I have 7 exits. It probably was the single biggest factor that prevented me from seeing extremely high level success, because I was spreading myself across several things, and I was not taking time out of my day, which now I spend at least an hour or 2 on learning to become a better CEO, reading books, thinking, developing those thoughts, sharing them, having conversations with people who think differently than I do, and allowing myself to go deeper. If you want to go a mile wide and an inch deep, and you're fine with being mediocre at a number of things, that's cool. And having just like a number of really mediocre businesses that suck up your time, great, like, do that. But if you want to like have any shot at being profoundly successful, you have got to get rid of the idea that opportunity cost is so great that you can't just allow yourself to commit and surrender to this one thing that you've chosen.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I think that I wish more people gave that kind of advice, and I really appreciate it, man. Is you got to look out for number one, and you got a human body, and you can only do so much. And if you're on the road to burnout, like, just check yourself and realize that massive health and self-education and self-preservation creates potential massive like success. And it really, I have it written down on my cycle schedule on my refrigerator. It says massive health equals massive success for me personally. But I think a lot of people, are there unhealthy people that are successful? Sure. Right. But why would you want to be, when you realize how much you're just sparking on all cylinders, right? When you're rested up, right, and all that. And it's really important. And you can see it. Try to jump on a conference call with board members just half asleep. You can't come up with the words that you want to come up with. You can't. I've been there, and it's like, man, I'm just not as intelligent as I think I am right now on this call. But so I really appreciate that breakdown. Where can people find you?
I'm not on a whole lot of social media, to be honest with you. I do occasionally go to Instagram at Travis Steffen.
Sure.
Same thing on Twitter. It like auto posts from my Instagram to Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
Hit me up hit up Viral Hero on Amazon or wherever you get your books. Shoot me an email. It's info@travissteffen.com. I still use the crap out of email.
Yeah, heck yeah. No, okay. Well, we'll make sure we put all that in the show notes, growflow.com. Hopefully looking forward to seeing some big things there. And in the meantime, I appreciate the time and the knowledge that you dropped with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.